Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jere B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. Welcome to this episode of the EntreMusician. You know we engage, encourage, and empower all EntreMusicians everywhere. My passion is to help aspiring musicians find their voice and grow. That's what I love to do. In this episode, I want to introduce 8 autobiographies every EntreMusician should check out. You don't have to own them. I did a video previously of the 10 books that every EntreMusician should own, but you should read these autobiographies and feed your soul. I love autobiographies, man. I love documentaries. I love hearing someone else's story. It encourages me, man. It builds me up to hear what they've gone through to attain the heights of success that they had. You think it's all like roses. We see them on stage at the Grammys or wherever, but the things that it took to get them there, man, that's what really fuels me. And it encourages me because I know my own journey is going forward because I'm experiencing some of the same things. So with respect to that, let's get into it. The 8 autobiographies that every EntreMusician should check out. Well, here is the first one. These are on my shelf and that I thought would be wonderful to share with you. James Brown, just because he's James Brown. I don't care what genre of music you follow, you got to know the story of James Brown. Get some of his story into your spirit. Talking about a come up, a brother who came up from nothing. I'm sure you've seen the movie. I'm sure there's thousands of videos. There's hundreds of different documentaries on there, but to hear it in his own words is just absolutely fantastic. You gotta get I Feel Good and check that out. Hear what he had to go through, how he did it, and then even after he made it, some of the dips that he took, he talks about it. He's very transparent. I love the book. And boy, if you don't have this one, Berry Gordy's To Be Loved, wow, especially if you run an indie label. You know, it's one thing to be an independent musician, but running your own label and looking at, you know, the options that we have with streaming, and we've moved past downloading and all of that stuff. Well, here is a man who fought the system and won. Took his ideas from when he worked on the line at the Ford factory and parlayed that into one of the most successful record companies, music companies, I should say, record companies, record labels out there. Not only Motown, but Tamla and Gordy, and just the wealth of information that comes from this man's story. Really, still, I've read this maybe 4 or 5 times because I just love hearing about Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson and Marvin Gaye and all of these guys as they were developing their craft. You know, we know them as Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, you know, but these cats were really in the studio doing it. They were really in the boardroom having disagreements and what records should come out first. And, you know, it was just like, wow. You know, when Stevie Wonder turned 21 and partied with Berry Gordy and then said, look, I'm leaving the label. I mean, you got to hear these stories. They're absolutely fantastic. It gives you fuel and encourages you. This is one of my favorites, Berry Gordy's To Be Loved. Take the moment and read that book. You will absolutely love it. Now, here's 2. I'm going to have to hold these 2 up kind of side by side because I made it a point to read them kind of side by side. I started with Philip Bailey's story because he wasn't the founder of Earth, Wind & Fire. Maurice White was the founder of Earth, Wind & Fire. In many ways, these books kind of parallel each other. But the one thing that I thought was interesting was Philip White, you know, Philip Bailey, I should say, as he's talking about different aspects, and then Maurice White, when you go to that chapter and go to that scene or that season in their career, and he's talking about why he made the decisions he did. I mean, sometimes they're opposing, and sometimes he didn't quite understand what he was doing. He knew what he was doing, but he also admits when he dropped the ball and when he made mistakes. And so I got to recommend both of these introduce to you Maurice White, the founder of the Super Band. He is not with us anymore. He has passed on, but man, what a great, incredible book. And then Philip Bailey's take on what happened as he's still carrying on the torch for Earth, Wind, and Fire even as we speak. So you got to get both of these, Shining Star as well as Maurice White, My Life with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Huge book. And you know, again, I don't know what genre you may be in as you're watching this, but here's a dude who's impacted just about everybody: rock, punk, funk, hip-hop, everything. George Clinton. And brother be like, yo, George, ain't that funkin' kind of hard on you? It's an incredible read. I mean, I love the story of P-Funk, Parliament Funkadelic, and all of the spin-off bands: Horny Horns, Brides of Funkenstein, Bootsy's Rubber Band, Bernie Worrell. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And this guy tried to do a Berry Gordy, kind of got shut down a little bit because the industry was kind of hip and saying, we're not going to let another Motown come into play. But how he dipped it and got all of these artists on these different labels, didn't create a Motown, but created an empire nonetheless. So you definitely want to get this autobiography. Check it out. George Clinton still with us, retiring I think this year. Chaka Khan, wonderful story from an incredible genius. I mean, she goes far beyond her voice. Her voice is what we know that captivates her. But, you know, the things that she's been able to accomplish in her journey of music, only a very few, especially a very few women in this industry has been able to traverse the genres of music that she's been able to do, and do it with so much style. She's had her troubles. She talks about her troubles in here. Even recently, we've heard in the news of some of the things that are going on with Chaka. But she is definitely I want to say the Queen of Soul, but I think we still reserve that for Aretha. But she is very high up. Would you say Duchess? Princess? Chaka Khan's got it going on, and you want to hear her story. Very, very encouraging. I really, really recommend it. Herbie Hancock, who is an icon in jazz, went ahead and did it with his autobiography called Possibilities. Herbie is very transparent. I'll say something that he has said in his book. Well, maybe I won't, because then I'll ruin it for you. But you don't know a person's journey until you sit down and listen to them. He's had an incredible journey that you wouldn't think you could attach to Herbie Hancock. And I really, really enjoyed this autobiography, and I'm certain you will too. Now here's one I'm still reading, the last one on my list of 8 autobiographies that every EntreMusician should check out. Rick James, wild dude, man, wild dude. I haven't continued reading it because, you know, sometimes I'll get through half a chapter and I'll go, you know, man, really, you know, can you live like that, brother? You know what I mean? But he's had an interesting life. He talks about it, you know, jail time, the whole thing, incredible stuff that he's been through. But at one time, he was the king of punk funk, no longer with us, but left an enduring legacy that many funk musicians still use as far as his rhythms and whatnot are concerned. Rick James, Glow. He wrote this with David Ritz, another book that I read from David Ritz, another autobiography. I think there's 2 that one I'm going to check out, and I think he wrote with Luther Vandross. If I'm inaccurate about that, you can put that in the comments. But another one that I really loved was Marvin Gaye's Divided Soul. So you have to read that. He wrote that with David Ritz, and he was another, just like Rick James, troubled person, but a genius nonetheless. So Rick James, haven't quite finished it, trying to tiptoe through it. There's some things that I gotta wrap my mind around, but these are 8 autobiographies every EntreMusician should check out. I want to know what autobiographies you recommend, what things that you've read or documentaries perhaps that you've watched that spur you on, and when times get a little tough for you, you can say, well, because they did that, and because they had this pitfall, and because they had to go on hiatus or whatever, and then 4 years later they came out, boom, 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 stronger than ever. Share it with us. This is a community. The EntreMusician.com is a community. Go there now if you haven't already. You'll find a plethora of resources. We try to provide a hub of networking for these who, like myself, call themselves EntreMusicians and move forward in their craft. You can download our free ebook, which is called 50 Engaging Ways to Turn Your Fans into Family. 50 proven ways to turn your fans into family at the EntreMusician.com, free of charge. Thank you for joining us in this episode. My name is Jere B. I am the EntreMusician. I'm going to keep saying it every time. And so are you. Peace and blessings to you, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.